Good morning, folks. John Adamson with Seeking Light. Yes, doing a second video, but this is a topic that I've been following for quite some time, and you know that my channel has devoted time to this. And significant bombshell news. I'd heard some details about this the other day, but really delved into it some this morning. And with actual video of this particular situation. So recently, like within the last week, I believe, Janine Small, who is one of the Pfizer executives, was being was before or testifying before the European Union's parliamentary body. So obviously, we don't govern ourselves the way Europe does, and many countries, except famously Great Britain, many countries in Europe belong to the European Union. So they have their parliament, their governing body, and it has authority. At least the European countries give it authority. And during this recent report by this executive, she was asked very straightforwardly by, I forget the MP as they call it, but one of the Scandinavian countries, MP, asked her, and he asked very specifically this question: did Pfizer know before the rolling out of the vaccine whether the vaccine would prevent the transmission of COVID? And she answered very clearly, no, they did not. This is a huge ethical and will have legal ramification bombshell. Because, first of all, let's go back a little bit. You remember when the vaccines were being rolled out and all of us were being told we should really get it? And what was the number one argument? The number one argument for getting the vaccine was, it's not about you, it's about protecting other people, right? The argument was you won't transmit it. You remember Joe Biden coming out in Thanksgiving time-ish, 2021, saying that for those that were unvaccinated, it was going to be a holiday season marked with death and hospitalizations for not only them, but also for their loved ones. You remember that? And I've talked about this on my channel. You remember what even the American Medical Association's whole basis for argumentation was ethically to have people get vaccinated? It was the prevention of transmission that would be caused by people getting vaccinated. In other words, they were saying, if you get vaccinated, you won't cause other people to get it. You remember? This is not too long ago, but people will forget. And this news is not going to spread very quickly because there are a lot of entities that have a desire to suppress this information, but this is readily available. It actually happened. There's no reason my videos should be suppressed or taken off YouTube because you can find it easily. Now, why did I say that the government and Pfizer lied and people died? Well, it's not disputed that people have died after receiving the COVID vaccinations. In fact, it's well documented that there have been proven deaths from the COVID vaccinations. But what was the argument at the time? When we were when some of us were saying, look, it's causing deaths, what was the argument? Not that, no, it's not causing deaths, but that your risk from dying from a COVID vaccine is less than dying from the disease itself. That has always been the argument from the start. It's never been, no, it doesn't cause deaths, because they know they couldn't support that, because as data rolled out from VAERS and other entities, that yes, indeed, there were vaccine-associated deaths, not only deaths, but also severe disabilities that were coming out from the COVID vaccine. They could not argue that case. So they just had to say your relative risk of having an injury from this vaccine is less than having an injury from getting COVID itself. Therefore, get the shot. That has always been the argument from the beginning. And the ethical argument has always been one of beneficence. What is beneficence? It's seeking to have compassion towards other people. It's most articulated in the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so the argument was, look, you might not be in a high risk category. Maybe you're young, you don't have any comorbidities. Maybe you've had the COVID before and you made it through, but you want to get the vaccine to reduce the risk of transmission from you to somebody that could be vulnerable. And whole countries developed policies on travel based on that assumption. In other words, unless you have a vaccine card or you can show proof of vaccination, you're not traveling. You're going to be detained. I think of, what's his name, the great tennis player being detained in Australia, who is going to be competing in the Australian Open tennis tournament. He was detained because he was not vaccinated. You had people kicked out of the military because they weren't, because the concern was that they were going to affect the readiness of their troops, their fellow troop members, if they weren't vaccinated. So all of these millions upon millions of lives, probably over 1 billion, have been impacted over this principle, the belief that the vaccine would prevent transmission of the disease. And what do we find out this week? A Pfizer executive under oath before a parliamentary body has admitted that no, they had no idea if it would prevent transmission. This is a bombshell. And I really do hope that Pfizer will be sued, not to oblivion, because obviously Pfizer's producing some medications that are necessary for people. And probably some medication, I don't know them off the top of my head, but there's probably medications they produce that are they still own the rights to, that people need to live, but they don't need the vaccines to prevent transmission. This should hit hard, and there should be massive class action lawsuits. And I'm going to do a follow-up to my ethics presentation on medical mandates because, remember, there are 7 main principles. If you've followed my channel, 7 main principles related to medical mandates and ethics that I cover. And beneficence is one of them. And that was the only argument utilized to promote forcing people to get the vaccine. The only argument. They delved into justice as well, which you might remember me covering. But now, all of that is just thrown by the wayside. So there is no beneficence argument. None. Zero. Zip. It's gone. With one admission on the world stage by a Pfizer executive. By the way, there's another recent study, related to this, breast milk. Lactating mothers receiving the Pfizer vaccine within the first 2 weeks, evidence of the mRNA, modified RNA in the breast milk. So the baby basically getting some of that vaccine within the breast milk. And that was, not supposed to be a risk, right? How many people lied and how many people have died? All for in control of our lives. People quick to jump the gun. People quick to say, you're going to kill grandma if you don't get the vaccine. Am I angry? Oh, you bet I am. Not for me, because I didn't get it. Because I suspected there was a major issue from the beginning that we weren't being told. And many of you are in the same boat. You saw through the lies, and you realized that there was a massive problem associated with this rollout. You weren't trusting the science, And now we find out that they lied. And here's Pfizer's further culpability in this. Early on, they knew from the beginning that they couldn't verify that it prevented transmissibility. But when it was being pushed by our government and other governments, one of the big things that our governments were saying to prevent transmissibility, and where was Pfizer's voice in that? Huh? Where was Pfizer to prevent that spread of misinformation? That no, they hadn't been able to confirm the prevention of transmissibility. Where were they? They were absent. Why? Because they were raking in dough, hand over fist. If you know someone in your life who is negatively impacted because of the vaccine, I would, first of all, encourage them to watch the video. It's available on YouTube. It's a little hard to find. I found it played by Dr. John Campbell. He has a very big YouTube channel of 2.5 million followers. He's a researcher who's been following this all along, you know, really trying to be authentic about where the research leads. And he's one who got vaccinated early and encouraged people to get vaccinated. And he's changed his tune as more research has come out. That's honesty. That's honesty. And so he's the one that posted the video just the other day. Encourage them to watch that, those you know that have been injured. And also, I would encourage you to ask them to maybe find out what repercussions they have. Because I have a feeling there's some law groups that are ready to go to take on Pfizer. Because not only are they going to reap a whirlwind, but so are their clients. And yeah, Pfizer's going to have some explaining to do in court, as they should. That's justice. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Don't forget to like this video. I forget to mention that usually. And hope you have a great day. Take care. God bless. And I will stop this video somehow. There it is. Take care.